My name is Sarah Chin, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes your greatest adversary isn't a stranger, it's your own family. For a decade, I poured my heart and soul into our family's small tech business, transforming it from a struggling repair shop into a $50 million enterprise. But success doesn't always bring people together. Sometimes, it breeds jealousy, even among those who should be celebrating with you. I still remember when it all began. Back then, our company was nothing more than a modest computer repair shop in a strip mall, Dad's pride and joy, even though it barely scraped by. My sister, Emma, was always the golden child, the straight-A student, the one who went to an elite business school while I stayed behind, studying computer science at a local college and helping Dad keep the shop afloat. "Sarah, you're wasting your potential here," Emma would say on her rare visits home. "You could do so much more." But I saw something in that little shop that no one else did: potential. While Emma studied theoretical business models, I was learning real-world programming and spotting gaps in the market. In my final year of college, I developed our first proprietary software, a simple yet effective inventory management tool for small businesses. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was affordable, user-friendly, and exactly what local business owners needed. At first, Dad was skeptical, but when the first licenses started selling, his attitude shifted. "Maybe you're onto something, kiddo," he said, a rare flicker of pride in his voice. Those words meant the world to me back then, if only I had known how fleeting they would be. Under my leadership, the business grew. I worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week, while Emma climbed the corporate ladder in New York. I built something real. The little repair shop evolved into a full-fledged software company, expanding from local clients to national corporations. Mom worried about me. "Don't work too hard, Sarah," she'd say, bringing dinner to my desk. "You need a life outside of this." But I was driven, not just by ambition, but by a quiet, unspoken need to prove myself. 5 years in, we hit our first $1 million in annual revenue. That's when Emma suddenly took an interest. She left her consulting job in New York and moved back home. "I think it's time I take my rightful place in the company," she announced at dinner. "With my expertise, we could scale this business to the next level." Dad beamed. "That's wonderful, Princess. We could use your professional touch around here." I sat frozen, my fork hovering midair. The company I had built from the ground up was suddenly being handed to Emma on a silver platter, but I bit my tongue and tried to be a team player. Despite having no experience in tech, Emma was named co-CEO alongside me. Dad insisted it was for the company's image. After all, she had the fancy degree and corporate background. I focused on the work. She focused on being seen. Over the next 5 years, I continued developing products and building relationships with clients, while Emma became the face of the company. She gave interviews about being a woman in tech, accepted entrepreneurship awards, and took credit for the innovations my team and I had created. Revenue climbed to $50 million, but so did the tension between us. Emma began excluding me from key meetings, making unilateral decisions, and slowly pushing me to the sidelines of my own company. Then came Dad's 60th birthday party, the night everything changed. Emma rented out the grand ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel. It was less of a celebration and more of a networking event, but that was her style. I arrived early to help with setup, dressed in a simple black dress, something Emma immediately criticized. "Couldn't you have made more of an effort?" she hissed. "There are important people here tonight." I ignored her and focused on making sure everything ran smoothly. The room filled quickly with business associates, clients, and family friends. Emma worked the crowd like a politician, while I stayed in the background, as always. Then, during dinner, she clinked her glass for a speech. I expected a tribute to Dad, maybe some childhood anecdotes. Instead, she dropped a bomb that shattered everything. "As we celebrate Dad's 60th birthday," she began, her voice carrying through the room, "I think it's time to announce some exciting changes at Chin Technologies." My stomach tightened. What changes? After careful consideration in recent board meetings, she continued, "I'm pleased to share that I will be taking over as sole CEO." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My hands clenched under the table. Emma smiled, exuding false sympathy. "For too long, we've been held back by outdated thinking and resistance to change. Some people are better suited for technical roles rather than leadership," she said smoothly, her eyes locking onto mine, "while my sister, Sarah, has been adequate in maintaining our legacy systems. True innovation requires a new vision." And just like that, My life's work was being stolen, right in front of an audience. We need vision. We need excellence. And frankly, Sarah, you're just not cut out for this level of business. I looked at Dad, expecting, no, hoping, he would defend me, but he only nodded along, a proud smile on his face. Mom stared at her plate, hands trembling. Emma continued, her voice laced with superiority, the truth is, you're a liability, Sarah. Your outdated ideas and lack of formal business education are dragging this company down. It's time for you to step aside, gracefully. Silence suffocated the room. Hundreds of eyes locked onto me, filled with pity, scorn, judgment. Everything I had built, every sacrifice, was being stripped away in front of everyone I knew. Slowly, I rose to my feet. The scrape of my chair against the floor was deafening. They expected a scene, tears, maybe a desperate plea. Instead, I simply picked up my purse, walked to Dad's table, and placed a small, wrapped package in front of him. "Happy birthday, Dad," I said quietly. Then, without another word, I walked out of the ballroom, head high, leaving behind the whispers, the stares, the smug satisfaction on Emma's face. But she had made one crucial mistake. She thought she had won. That night, surrounded by awards and patents bearing my name, I made a decision. Emma had no idea what was coming. Tomorrow would be interesting. The next morning, I arrived at the office early. At precisely 9 a.m., Emma waltzed in with Dad at her side, both wearing triumphant smiles. "Sarah?" Emma's voice dripped with false concern. "What are you doing here? I assumed you'd have the dignity to stay home after last night." I smiled, remembering the email I had sent at 3 a.m. to every major client, partner, and employee of Chin Technologies. "Just tying up loose ends, sister dear, but since you're here, let's talk about the company's future." "There's nothing to discuss," Dad said firmly. "Emma's in charge now, the board approved it." I pulled out my tablet. "Ah, yes, the board, let's talk about that." With a tap, the conference room's main screen lit up. While Emma was busy playing CEO, I was actually building this company, and you both seem to have forgotten a few important details. I pulled up a document. "First, let's discuss ownership. When we incorporated 10 years ago, Dad split the shares, 25% each for Emma and me, with him retaining 50%. But 3 years ago, when we needed capital, he sold me 6% of his shares." I turned to him. "Remember that, Dad? You were too busy at Emma's awards ceremony to handle the paperwork, so you signed without reading carefully." The color drained from his face. Emma's grip tightened on the conference table. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Dad would never." But he did. I pulled up another set of documents. "And that's not all. The core software that generates 80% of our revenue? It isn't actually owned by Chin Technologies. It belongs to my separate company, Innovate Solutions, LLC. Chin Technologies merely had a licensing agreement, which expired." I checked my watch. 10 minutes ago. Dad sank into a chair, realization dawning. "The renewal papers," he muttered. "The ones you asked me to sign last week." "Yes, the ones you were too busy to read because you were planning Emma's party." Emma's mask cracked. "You manipulative little." "Careful," I cut her off. "You might want to hear the rest first." I pulled up my inbox. Most of our clients signed with Chin Technologies because of me. Their contracts have personal loyalty clauses. Last night, I let them know about my departure. Emails flooded the screen, termination notices, client withdrawals, developer resignations, the company's backbone, unraveling in real time. Through the glass walls, employees huddled around their screens. The murmur spread like wildfire. Emma fumbled for her phone. "You can't do this," she stammered. The company you tried to steal from me?" I finished. "The one you thought you could just take over because you have an MBA and Dad's blessing?" I leaned forward, my voice soft but razor sharp. "You underestimated me, and that was your biggest mistake. That company ceased to exist the moment you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone we know." I rose to my feet, smoothing my dress. "So, here are your options." Silence stretched between us as I let the weight of my words settle. Option 1, I walk away, with my shares, my software, my clients, and my employees. Chin Technologies becomes an empty shell, and you get to explain to all those important guests from last night why the company's value dropped to zero overnight. Dad looked as if he had aged a decade in mere minutes. "And option 2? He asked weakly. "Option 2, you both resign. I take full control of Chin Technologies. You keep your shares as silent partners, dividends, no decision-making. Emma gets a generous severance package and a glowing reference for a job far from here. Emma's face turned a deep, splotchy red. You planned this all along, didn't you? She hissed. You were just waiting for the right moment to stab us in the back. I laughed, a cold, humorless sound. No, Emma, I spent 10 years being the good daughter and sister while you both took me for granted. I built this company from nothing while you collected accolades for my work. I only planned this. I checked my watch 12 hours ago, after you called me worthless in front of everyone. My phone buzzed. Another client termination notice. Time's running out, I said coolly. What's it going to be? The next hour blurred with contracts, lawyers, and signatures. By noon, I sat alone in my office, staring out over the city. Chin Technologies was mine. Yet, victory felt hollow. Family lay in ruins, trust shattered like fragile glass. That evening, Mom visited, her eyes red from crying. Did it have to end this way? She asked softly. I exhaled slowly. They gave me no choice, I said, voice steady. They would have taken everything and discarded me without a second thought. She nodded, understanding but mourning. And now? I turned my screen toward her, revealing the plans I had held back, expansions, innovations, new markets. Now, I said, determination burning in my chest, I build something even bigger, but this time, I do it without carrying people who see me as worthless. A year later, under my leadership, Chin Technologies tripled in value. Emma took a job at a Silicon Valley startup, humbled, maybe wiser. Dad retired, finally realizing his golden child had nearly destroyed his legacy. We see each other at holidays, exchanging polite pleasantries that hide wounds too deep to heal. Sometimes, late at night, I flip through old family photos, feeling a pang for what we lost, but then I remember that night, the look of disdain on Emma's face, the way Dad nodded along. Respect is earned, not given. They learned that lesson too late. And I learned that the ones dismissed as worthless are the ones to watch, because we know how to build from nothing. And we know exactly how to take it all back. My story spread through business circles, a cautionary tale about underestimating the wrong person. At industry events, I hear the whispers. That's Sarah Chen, the one who. They never finish the sentence. They don't have to. Last week, I was invited to speak at Emma's business school graduation. The topic? Hidden strengths, the power of underestimated leaders. I accepted with a small smile, already planning my speech. After all, I have quite a story to tell. Chin Technologies continues to thrive under my leadership. But more importantly, I've found peace. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's rising so high that those who doubted you can't help but see their own mistakes. As I sit in my office, overlooking the city, I remember something my mother once told me. Success is the best revenge, but wisdom is knowing when to stop seeking revenge and start seeking growth. She was right. I've moved past revenge. Now, I build. And that birthday present I never gave Dad, a photo album of the company's journey, it still sits in my desk drawer. Maybe one day, when the wounds have faded enough, I'll finally give it to him. Until then, it remains a reminder. The underestimated are the ones who rise the highest. And I refuse to be underestimated ever again.